Pride Dynasty League. It was a pretty good week in football. Everyone and their mom seems to be riding CJ Stroud's but I suppose that's a good thing. But it makes me want to ask, where they ass was at when we was sitting in the draft room? Where they ass was at when they said we wasn't in the classroom? You know what I'm saying? But we'll let it slide. And it was a pretty good week in fantasy too. It's getting a little murky at the top. Who's gonna make the playoffs? More importantly, who's gonna get that bye? On screen now we have the standings. The first thing that pops off is that everybody's gotta win. Good on you, Dynasty Sage. After that, it seems like we have a three-way tie for first place. 3 teams at 7-2, 3 teams at 6-3. It would appear Hollywood Cole Brothers and Stacking Yards have not given up on their playoff dreams. Will their winning streaks continue this week? More on that later, but first, last week we had Disabled Vigilantes going head-to-head with West Coast Giants. I think we're pretty far from a stat correction changing these standings, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. Disabled Vigilantes gets the win against West Coast Giants. Next we had Agent Smith going up against Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. Rick and Morty may be back sans Justin Roiland, but it seems like this Wubba Lubba Dub Dub is struggling. Easy victory for Agent Smith. Next we had Chicago Chalupas going up against Unfuckwittable. And if anybody wanted to beat Chicago Chalupas, it would have been this week. Buymageddon is real, ladies and gentlemen. But a win's a win, just like I predicted. I'm currently 3-0, but something tells me things are about to change drastically. Next we had Dynasty Sage going head-to-head with Griffey Cakes. And our year 1 champion ran into the buzzsaw that is CJ Stroud. But let's not get it twisted. It was Dynasty Sage's defense that came to the rescue to grab their first win. I don't want to spend too much time on this because the relevancy of either of these teams is highly questionable. Next we had Hollywood Cole Brothers going up against those classy strippers. And this was my upset, baby. I called it. And Hollywood Cole Brothers did not disappoint. You guys trying to let Hollywood Cole Brothers into the playoffs. It's gonna get a little messy. Next we had the Boss going up against Stacking Yards, and I had the Boss winning this matchup. I wasn't banking too much on the offensive side, though I did expect it to do a little better. And even though the Boss's defense scored 139 points, I'm sure he was still kind of disappointed. Either way, the explosive nature of Stacking Yards, led by Dalton Schultz of all people, was just a little too hot to handle. Stacking Yards gets a rare win against a playoff contender. And last, but certainly not least, we had Dunder Mifflin going up against Redacted, ADP 1897. And ADP's been going through some rough terrain for the past few weeks. I picked ADP to beat Dunder Mifflin, and I was sorely mistaken. Last week I was 5-2 on my picks thanks to a stat correction. This week, 4-3. Although I didn't pick it, quality win for Dunder Mifflin. No one scored over 300 points, but that is to be expected with Buymageddon. Agent Smith, however, is our stud, scoring a whopping 282 points. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, 3 weeks running, we have Unfuckwittable being our fantasy dud for the week. Not only that, I do believe he scored the least amount of points by any team this year at 156.3 points. But I'm sure Unfuckwittable doesn't care about this game here. He's more worried about the game in the offseason called the draft. If you don't know, now you know. Due to the stat correction, the rankings kind of got a little wonky here. So week 9, I didn't bother changing it. We're just going to move into what week 10 power ranking should look like after the correction. Starting from the bottom till we get to the top, we got Dynasty Sage, Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, and Unfuckwittable at 14, 13, and 12 respectively. I don't expect too much to change down there at the bottom, but you never know. Coming in at 11, we've got Griffey Cakes. 10, Stacking Yards, who says, no, I don't think I'm done just yet this season. Just one rung higher, we have Hollywood Cole Brothers, a bird of the same feather. They are flocking together. At 8, right outside the playoff cusp, we have Classy Strippers. At 7, we have West Coast Giants. At 6, the Boss. Coming in at 5, we've got Disabled Vigilantes. At 4, we have Agent Smith. Redacted, ADP 1897 coming in at number 3. The Boys in Scranton at number 2. And Chicago Chalupas at number 1. Before you get your panties in a twist, let's go ahead and check and see how I think Week 10 will play out. First up, we have Wubba Dub Dub going head-to-head against Disabled Vigilantes. And Bymageddon is strong in this matchup. Without Miami, I'm glad I'm playing Wubba Dub Dub. Disabled Vigilantes gets the win. Next, we have Classy Strippers going up against Dynasty Sage. And will CJ Stroud become a hero to Dynasty Sage's village? Not this week. Classy Strippers will get this win. Next on the docket, we have Griffey Case going up against the Boss. And this will be a solid rebound game for the Boss, but there are some sneaky matchups that favor Griffey Cakes. Don't be surprised if this is closer than anyone might anticipate. Next, we have Stacking Yards going up against Dunder Mifflin. And I almost made this my upset of the week. Stacking Yards is sneaky good right now. But I believe the Boys in Scranton will have enough firepower to overcome Stacking Yards. Another game that will be extremely close, but I'm going to give it to those Boys in Scranton. Next up, we have Unfuckwittable going up against Agent Smith. And Agent Smith might be able to bench 5 or 6 players and still come out with this victory. Easy win for Agent Smith. Next up, we have those West Coast Giants going up against those Hollywood Cole brothers. This is going to be a battle at the OK Corral, ladies and gentlemen. And who will come out on top? You guessed it, this is my upset of the week. I've got those Hollywood Cole brothers beating the West Coast Giants. Even with McCaffrey coming back off the bye, West Coast Giants will suffer another loss at the hands of those Hollywood Cole brothers. Lock it up! And last, but certainly not least, we've got Redacted, ADP 1897, facing off against Chicago Chalupas at a battle for the top. The winner of this matchup more than likely will remain in first place. This matchup is essential for determining who very well could get the bye when we're talking about playoff seeding. And though this matchup will be a doozy, I mean an absolute barn burner, I'm thinking both these teams score within the upper 325 point level, despite Bymageddon. I'm going to give it to those Chicago Chalupas. Nothing short of a storybook year that started off our season in great tragedy. Bull City's team, now piloted by a Legacy Pride member. Could we have written a better story? I got one in mind, and it ends with me hoisting another belt. But seriously, folks, Chicago Chalupas doing wonderful things, and I believe it will continue in Week 10. Those are my picks. Like it or love it. It's November, folks, and we've got a little less than 2 months of the fantasy season left. Where does the time go? Word of advice, cherish every week you got, because it's here today, gone tomorrow. I hope everyone has a fantastic week in fantasy. Everybody except Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. Rick and Morty is just not the same without Justin Roiland. It's still good, just not the same. That's all I got for you today. Be easy. Peace.